So from what I understand, you instinctively knew how to hold a book, or was it just by manipulating the book that you found what was successful for you?
I don't know. In those years, they didn't have the proficiency of children's books that we have now. Our house was loaded with books, but they all were nonfiction. And we didn't have a library in the town of Smithfield then. You know, they had the little golden books, and, you know, who wants to read all these one-out books? I just thought that was the right way. You know, that was the right way.
So visually it made more sense to you?
Oh, yeah, it was the only way I could do it.
What happened to you when you changed it around to the conventional way? Did the letters move around on you, or was it just that?
Well, I could do it, but it was so difficult. And when I was in the 3rd grade, one of my siblings got measles, and in those years, everybody had to stay out till you got it. I was the last one to get it, so I was out almost 2 months. And when I came back to school, I said to my mother, "You won't believe this. I put my book the way everybody else did." And she said, "Well, were you able to read?" And I said, "No." But she said, "I want you to try." She said, "I've been praying for this for years, that you would be able." So she offered me a quarter. Of course, there were no stores to spend in it. But that was an absorbent sum of money to a child that, you know, nobody had money, you know, had their own cash. So, you know, I would do it when people were around, but I just, you know, it was hard. When I got into 7th grade, I could read mostly that way, and I tried writing that way. And it took so much time trying to form the letters. And when I got excited, like I was writing a story or something, I couldn't even read it afterwards.
Right. So now, what happened when you got into high school and college?
Well, when I left Henry Bond in the 9th grade, we didn't have a high school in town, so I picked Mount Pleasant to go to. And because of my grades, I know this now. At that point, of course, I didn't know it. Because of my grades, I was put into, I think, the lowest division. And so every weekend, people were getting married. I didn't even have a boyfriend. You know what I mean? I came from the country. It was just completely different. And I had an English teacher, Fred Myers, and he found out that everybody was copying my homework. I couldn't believe in this group nobody did their homework. It took me so much time to do everything that I was just very earnest, and I just thought you put in that amount of work. So he recommended me for college English. So the guidance teacher said to me, "Well, if you're going to go in that, are you a good speller?" I'd never been a good speller, and I always had trouble I knew what the letters were in the word, but where they came, you know, when I was trying to do it the way everybody else did. And of course, I was so sure. I said, no, I'm not a good speller. He said, "You can't do it." So the next year, I had Fred Myers again, and he said, "I think you really belong in college English. I'm going to speak to the principal." And when I got in there, like, the world opened up. People then were more interested in my ideas, my interaction in the in the storyline, rather than what it looked like, although that was always, you know, always a problem. So when I only applied to 2 colleges, and one of them I didn't get into, and I got into Rhode Island College, and at that point I was so proud I thought I did it on my own, but I realized, you know, it was probably my father's influence that I got in. So I taught myself to print, because I knew in the elementary school they did printing then rather than cursive writing. But that took a long time. You know, I knew how to form the letters, but when you're trying to take notes quickly.
Now, through all of this, and all of your difficulties, did anyone ever think that maybe it was your vision?
I imagine I probably had my eyes tested, but I don't remember that.
Okay. So you went on to Rhode Island College. I
went to Rhode Island College, and I did fairly well there. But when I went to grad school at BU, I was getting all A's for the first time in my life because they were interested in my ideas. You know, how I interact. I love to write stories. For my thesis, I wrote a phonics program, and it was based on what Sesame Street does now, where you wrote little stories that had the same phoneme or the same initial sound. And I just love doing that. And the first time, I was recommended to this honor society up there, and I was, for somebody who never got 100 on a spelling test, that to me was a big deal. To everybody else in the group, it wasn't a big deal. Of course, I didn't talk about it as a big deal, but I felt it was a big deal. And then so I became a teacher myself in Providence. And in those years, when you started in the elementary school, you had 40 in a room. You couldn't have more than 40, but you always had 40. And I just, for somebody who came from a classroom that was 14 and all these interesting, I just felt I was such a flop. So that's why I went to BU. I said, I've got to learn to teach one thing well. And so I picked reading. Now, psychologically, that was a reason, but I never thought of it till years later, and then I became a reading teacher.
And what ages?
Well, in your certificate, you're K through 12. But at BU, I majored in beginning reading, and my advisor, who was Dr. Murphy, along with Murphy and Durrell, who published loads of books, their belief was, and I believe it too, is it's very hard to go down. You can always go up. So you have to know what the skills are to start the child off. Although I've taught in middle school, but most of my background has been in the primary grades. And I even volunteer today, 2 mornings a week in one of the Providence schools.
Now, when you work with children, have you ever noticed any of the children holding their books upside down and backwards?
No, I haven't.
No? Do you think there might be some closet upside down readers?
Oh, you don't know, but I'm working with very young, children, and of course this is, when you first start. I'm working with children when I taught in Providence who didn't have a big experience with print, and so I didn't notice that. Maybe it was, but I only started. I talked about this once when I was teaching in North Attleboro, and they didn't know what to do with the 5th graders for that last week of school, and so they were talking. The kids were doing research on different people with different styles of reading and writing, and how they were not successful in the elementary school. And one of the reading teachers, who was my friend, at this point became the principal, and she said, Mary, would you be willing to talk a little bit? Don't talk a lot, because, in this town, everybody talk about it. And I said, what can they do? I'm the highest paid teacher. I'm one of the highest paid teachers. So when I would go into these 5th grade classes, I would say, most of you have seen me on the playground or in the cafeteria, but my name is Mrs. Frappier. And then I would turn around and write my name upside down on the blackboard. And so to make it, because see, I love theater, so to make it even more dramatic, and I said, and when I was in the lower grades, I could not learn to read and write. But right now, I am one of your highest paid teachers in the town. Of course, it was only because I was so old and it was maximum, And I would get, everybody's attention. And so that went well for a couple of years. And then one day, this very bright kid said, well, we've been studying Einstein. What are you famous for? And he didn't say it as a smart aleck. He just was, well, so Peggy, assistant principal, well, we all love Mrs. Frappier. She's going on and on. I know, I got to come up with a better answer. So, and this is what I said in the remaining years I was there. I said, it isn't how much you know. It isn't how smart you are. It's what you do with what you have. And I fully believe that.
Now, right now, if I were to give you a book, how would you hold it?
Oh, the way everybody else does.
Would it be faster if you held it upside down? Do you think it would be faster now if you held it upside down?
I don't think so.
No?
Although, working in the elementary schools, you're always reading upside
down anyway, I know. I know.
But it's big print. You know what I mean? It's wider print, so you can see those spaces. And I can write on a blackboard perfectly using, manuscript.
But that took years and years of practice.
Well, because I had learned it wrong, and you can learn something, and you really need like 100 times to practice. But if you're doing it with speed, or when you're taking notes, you're not taking down everything somebody's saying. You're processing it. What's the important part?
Right.
And so in college, my notes were awful. I mean, sometimes I couldn't even read them that day. So it just took an awful